Welcome back, Holotable Heroes, to another Galaxy of Heroes video. I am your boy Scribble, and today we are going to be discussing Sector 3 Conquest feats for this latest edition of Conquest. If you haven't done so already, check out my videos for Sector 1 and Sector 2 before watching this one, because you need to get all the feats, guys, let's be honest. We got to do them all. You want those Terra Malakos shards? Help a brother out. Let's break down Sector 3.
So give it up.
My dead body.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, is Sector 1. We've done it, maxed it out. Sector 2, we've done it, we maxed it out. Don't necessarily recommend you go and max it out stage by stage, but working on it. Sector 3, look at lovely Reaver over there just chilling, just hanging out. Okay, so let's take a look at the feats for this sector. There are a couple that are a little bit irritating, and it kind of depends on your roster, just a smidge. So, Brood Warfare, 50 enemies with Geonosians. It's not as bad as it sounds. I've only got 2 Relic Geonosians, the rest are Gear 12, and I'm able to win battles even at 60% stamina. Galactic Republic, we need to win 14 times with full squads of Galactic Republic. I did a little bit of a mistake here that would have finished this off, but I didn't realize until too late. Gain, we have returned. This is where things get a little bit iffy. Unfortunately, the only person that applies we have returned is Darth Malgus. So if you do not have Darth Malgus, you cannot get this feat done. I'm very sorry to say it. Darth Malgus is a requirement for this sector if you want this feat. Now, if you don't have Malgus, you are still able to red box, don't worry. You just have to skip this feat, okay? You can afford to drop 30 odd banners, roughly 30, 32, I believe, across the entirety of Conquest. And then Reeling Blow, attempt to inflict Stagger 60 times. Now note, this is attempt to inflict, you don't even have to land it. You just have to try it. This pairs very nicely with We Have Returned because Sith Empire, Bastila Shan Fallen, she has an AoE stagger. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Okay, so as you know, guys, before we start off on these videos, I like to go over and say, what teams should you look out for? The only team I'd really recommend you sort of find is going to be this one over here. If you can find yourself a Hux lead, well, ideally, if it was a crew lead, it'd be even better. If you can find yourself a crew team in there somewhere, I'd recommend you go for it. The reason for that is, with a volatile accelerator setup, crew is incredibly tanky, very hard to kill, almost impossible, and actually straight up impossible for some teams. And that's not a bad thing, okay? If we look to farm feats in an efficient, energy-efficient manner, farming stuff like crew, super useful. So we're going to be using him to farm stuff like We Have Returned to great value. And we can also use it to farm out the Stagger feat. Before we begin, let's quickly go over the data disk setup that I'm currently using. This is not an ideal setup for getting debuff feats done. It is an ideal setup for clearing through nodes very effectively, but it doesn't help when it comes to debuffs, okay? So we've got Volatile Accelerator. This one is the sort of the engine of the entire build. Every time we deal damage, an enemy is going to apply 3 dots, which is irresistible, and then they're going to gain some turn meter. Okay, but you pair that with Amplify Agony. I've got 2 blues and 1 green. We are going to be doing percentile max health damage to the enemy whenever they suffer a debuff. Now, pair that with Volatile Accelerator, they're always getting 3 debuffs. This is triggering multiple times. You can see we've got 6.63% there, 8.16 there, 8.16, that's 16, 24, roughly 25% max health damage every single time we hit an enemy. Times that by 3, because there are 3 dots, we're doing 75% of their max health to them every time we touch them. That's a lot of damage. Now, units that take reduced damage from percentile health effects, like Crew, like Reaver, like Malgus, they will not take this additional damage. Well, they will, but they'll take a fraction of it, right? Which is why Crew nodes are useful in here. I'm also running some Ruthless Swiftness. Ruthless Swiftness and a Voluntary Vanguard. Voluntary Vanguard is an incredibly important data disk to find. You do not need to run it 100% of the time, but there are a few areas where it is very valuable. It essentially puts a locked mark on your strongest character till the end of battle. Forces a taunt on your healthiest characters. The person with the highest health and protection will always be taunting. It is very useful. So if you find a Voluntary Vanguard, try to get it, okay? And Ruthless Swiftness over here means that when we drop an enemy below 100% health, we're gaining, in this case, 27% turn meter. It's just useful in creating turn meter trains, okay? Especially because Volatile Accelerator is going to be passing turn meter to the enemy when we hit them. we can kind of counteract it with a bit of this turn meter gain. Now, if you have Unstable Decelerator as well, you're able to counteract the entire turn meter gains from Volatile Accelerator, but it does mean you'll have to drop something. Usually I would drop Voluntary Vanguard for that. Okay, so let's get back into it now that I've finished talking about my data disk setup. Let's take a look and think, what ways can we most effectively get these feats done? First and foremost, let's think about Galactic Republic. Now, Galactic Republic is a fantastic faction. They've got loads of really good units. JMK, Gas, Bad Batch, Padme. These are all teams that can progress very nicely through this sector with minimal fuss, okay? What I would recommend to you to do, however, is to find yourself teams that can double dip with global feats. Now, we know that clone troopers, victories with clone troopers is one of the global feats that we need to get done. So if you can go in with, say, you know, a full clone squadron here, not using gas, you can do Galactic Republic as well as clone troopers. Now, these guys have got pretty low stamina here, so I'm not sure if I really like my odds of going up against the bonus node, but be right back. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Okay, so, like I said, I don't really like my odds going in with such low stamina across the board, but this is a team that you can use up to about this sort of stamina. As you can see, these are teams that I have been using to get here. Now, you can obviously throw the clones in with the 501st gas lead. The only issue with that is that you won't get the global feats and you'll start bringing down the stamina on your clones. Makes it just that little bit harder to get that done. So I'm going to focus Daka out the gate. Then I'm going to throw a little bit of yeetage. That revive coming out of Merrin. I highly, highly recommend you just go and try and kill Merrin very quickly. And once Merrin is gone, absolutely try and kill Daka because, you know, you don't want Daka reviving Merrin and then causing some sort of horrible infinite loop. Looks like we're actually going to be okay here, by the looks of things. Don't particularly like Asajj Ventress. So yeah, as you can see, even at 60-70% stamina with this particular data disk setup, you still relatively easily get victories with your clones. And we can keep farming data core materials, which are going to be very, very useful to you. So a gas 501st clones featuring Cody can still do very good work as you're going through, but I highly recommend leaving it till the end. Other teams that you can use to fit that Galactic Republic is, of course, Bad Batch. Now, there is a proviso here, guys. One word of warning. These lovely individuals here, these lovely members of the Bad Batch, are all, of course, members of the Galactic Republic. However, the fifth of their team, although she is a clone, Omega is not considered to be Galactic Republic. Okay, so if you're using Bad Batch, you have to get a fifth clone that is going to round out this team, okay? You can obviously go ahead and do something like Shakti Bad Batch, which is very, very good team, but again, it's not going to trigger for that global feat where you need to win with clone troopers. So if you want, you can throw in someone like Clone Sarge, and again, based on the fact that I've used up some of my stamina, I'm not sure how valuable this is going to be, but typically speaking, Bad Batch with Amplify Agony is incredibly powerful because of the sheer volume of debuffs that they do. As long as they don't stun your Echo out the gate like this. I mean, technical difficulties again. Oh well, we could just pass turn over to Echo. That probably works as well, because we'll use this ability and they'll just sort of go blah, blah, blah. That is the technical term for when you have this happen. And then we just roll this out. Booyah! Easy money, guys. Easy money with our Bad Batch there. Now, again, I like to show this on the bonus node so you guys know how to farm it at a later date. If you want to try and use these teams going forward, then absolutely you can. So I'm not going to do any further battles showing these Galactic Republic because I like to show these ones that are going to double dip. But if we're to look for other teams that you can use if you don't have particularly strong Bad Batch, or if your 501st clones is not particularly great, there are other teams that you can use. Namely, I mean, if you've got JMK Cat, guys, just use JMK Cat. You know, going in with JMK Cat, you could throw in Shakti, you could throw in Snips. Hell, you could just start using Ayla Secura. You could go in for a full Jedi-based one with Ki-Adi-Mundi to try and get that additional Jedi Council benefit. If you're using JML, you don't necessarily need to use Cat. And that's the other thing. You can go in with Padme with Cat, with GK, with Anakin, with Snips. This is another team that you'll be able to go out there and farm nodes. You'll be able to get through this feat with relative ease. There are a number of really, really good teams for Galactic Republic. And of course, we mentioned it earlier, you can just go in and use the likes of a Gas 501st. The only reason I don't use this is simply because I like to try and save the energy, the stamina on my clones to get full clone victories. So we're working towards that global feat. All right, cool. So again, looking back at the sector feats, we also need to get kills with Geonosians. Now, I always recommend trying to find teams such as Imperial Troopers for this sort of thing. Imperial Troopers over here, they have always got at least 3 revives with their Endless Ranks modifier. That means even when you kill them, they'll always revive, even if you have got yourself of preventing revives in the likes of gas or weapons tech from Watambor, they will still revive through this. This revive is not preventable, as you can see down here. Can't be prevented, okay? So what that means is you can have fun and you can definitely kill them and get 8 kills, which is great. Now, if you happen to have a frenzy tech available in your consumables. If you happen to have a frenzy tech, I don't think I've got one at the moment. I think I've just got tether tech there, which is still very valuable. If you happen to have a frenzy tech, I recommend you use it against a team such as these Imperial Troopers. Apply it, throw in your Geos with Watambor. Okay, so Geos with Watambor essentially means, and the frenzy tech just means that you will be able to start the turn with the tech from Wat, and then Wat will be able to, that tech will then trigger the frenzy. So your entire team will go, and you'll be able to farm the kills. Now, if you do not finish the battle, if you leave one Imperial Trooper alive, you will not use up that use of frenzy tech. So you'll be able to go in and do it again. So if you're getting 7 kills per battle of doing that, you'll get this done relatively quickly. However, I don't recommend doing that at this point unless you've got really, really weak Geos. Okay, that's the only time I'd recommend you do it. If your Geos are very, very weak, that's when I would recommend using the tether tech. Apart from that, as you can see with my Geos currently, my Geos are kind of run down at the moment. Let's see. They're kind of run down, 52% stamina across the board. I've been farming this on the bonus node to get some of the kills there. I'm up to 30 kills, and I don't mind that. I don't see that as a waste of energy or a waste of time, because you will always be able to earn those Datacron materials. So use your Geos on the bonus sector. You'll be absolutely fine, and it's not a waste of stamina. You could just chip away at it. You'll get 5 kills, maybe 6, maybe 7, depending on if you get revives, and you'll be done in less than 10 battles over a 14-day period. Or 10-day period, however long you've got. Okay, so we also need to look at getting the We Have Returned and the Reeling Blow effects. Now, I told you before, I like to use the crew node in order to get this business done. I like this crew node, but if I'm doing this, I tend to go ahead and change up my data disk just a little bit. If we're using a bunch of Amplify Agony, unfortunately, it does mean that you will just you'll kill things a little bit too quickly. Using the AoE Stagger, you'll absolutely kill everybody but crew, okay? And you might not even trigger the AoE Stagger, they might just die from the dots. So if you are going to try and do this, I'd recommend taking off your Amplify Agonies, just temporarily while you farm the feats. It's still the best way of getting it done. And then find any unit that either has revives or either has revives or you can focus down the crew like this. I personally find this as a better way of double dipping. Okay, so we're going in with a Sith Empire team here against that crew node for farming out our staggers and farming out our We Have Returned. Okay, so try to mod your Malgus to have very fast speed but very little health. Okay, this second special over here applies doubt to the enemy, and that doubt converts into We Have Returned once it expires, and the damage he deals is based on his max health. So little max health, lots of speed on Malgus is what you want. Okay, cool. Now we're going to be farming crew. You need to have removed, in all instances, you have to have removed your Amplify Agony, otherwise you will just kill the entire team. I like to actually kill General Hux when I'm doing this. When we use Basti's second special, she will apply Stagger to a bunch of characters, which is how we're going to be gaining our Stagger. I like to kill Hux, because if we kill Hux, then we can start gaining TM over here. We should actually be able to gain TM now, because he's lost his dominance. But I want to kill him either way, because I don't want to have to be worrying about him the whole time. Now, because we don't have Amplify Agony, that means all these debuffs are not dealing additional damage. Once we get to this point, you literally only want to be hitting crew. Only hit crew. Because he's going to be recovering. As you can see, his health is going up. And then we want that Voluntary Vanguard over there on our good boy Malak, so that we are casting Fear across the board as frequently as possible. So let's go ahead, gain some extra TM across the board. Now we've got the big hit here. We shouldn't kill crew with this. Lovely. Now I'm not going to hit crew any further, because if we hit crew now, I believe he's just going to die a rather sad and painful death. So we just got to circle round just a little bit. In an ideal world, we don't deal too much damage to everybody. Here we go. Let's go ahead and chuck some Stagger across the board. You want to try and go in with a full Sith Empire team, because a full Sith Empire team will give you the added benefit of additional... it'll give you the benefit of additional... we have returns. Apologies, I was struggling to think then. Additional we have returns will be nice, because that's exactly what we want. Okay, great. So we've got Kylo Ren back up to full health. We just now need to... You can see he's got that we have return... doubt. Oh my god, I can't think today. I'm very sorry, guys. He's got that doubt on him. After 2 turns, that will expire, and that will give us our we have returned. Looks like it's triggered already, so, you know, that's already been 15 uses of we have returned already, and we need to get 60 in total, so that's 1/4, isn't it? 1/4 of our uses already. So I'm just hitting crew. I don't want to deal too much damage to him. As soon as he takes a turn, fabulous. Let's go ahead, throw out another fear. We've got some additional staggers there. Another big hit coming out of our boy Malagus over there, placing that. Oh gosh, I accidentally killed him. Okay, so that's going to give us those additional. So that was 20 we have returns. If we can try and farm it out just a little bit, maybe get one more. I highly doubt that's going to happen, but no, there's no way we're going to get that done. So that's the idea behind it. You'll be able to use teams like this to land that we have returned, to land those AoE staggers as you go through. Highly recommend using a team like this to get that done. Alrighty, so those are our sector feats done and dusted. Let's take a look at the boss nodes. Now, you can get both of these boss nodes done with one team. Fabuloso, really like it, super smashing, great. If we look at the mini boss, we've got win with 5 surviving, not too bad, and then we've got win without using a Galactic Legend in your squad. Now, you could try and go in with a Gas 501st team here, but typically with Mara Jade, EP Starkiller, I don't like that. I don't like those odds. I think it'll probably go very Pete Tong very, very quickly. What I would recommend you do is use the greatest team that Conquest has to offer. That's right, guys. You know me. It's Scribbly Bill. We're just going to go in and use Rebels. I dropped C-3PO, and I put 5s in instead. And with that setup, there's no Galactic Legends. You've got 5s there, even though he's not really applying anything, and you could deal with this team very, very easily. You just target Mara Jade, kill her straight away. They tried to do some little things. It fails drastically, and we just clean up shop. Now, I go after Visas Mara over here to make sure that she can't revive any of the units, but, you know, it doesn't look like they're going to take a turn. Voluntary Vanguard in this instance is actually a hindrance, but it doesn't matter because Rebels are just too good. That gets you every single feat in one single battle on that node. I love to see it. I love to see it. Moving on from the mini-boss node then, we have got the big boss node featuring the Reaver and Inquisitorius setup. This one's a little bit irritating. They haven't used this Victor one since, I think it was two conquests ago. Essentially what happens is you go into battle and you have a one-on-one match that cycles through. So you'll start off, one of your characters will face off against one of their characters. None of your other characters can be injured. If you kill one of their teams, it goes up and it pairs up with different characters, and it always finishes up. The last 2 fights are the leader versus the leader. Now, what I did with this one is I actually used it to also farm additional we have returns, because why not? Malgus is quite a chunky unit. And we need to win without using a Galactic Legend. Not a problem at all. Here's a pro tip, though. Here is a pro tip. If you happen to have the Voluntary Vanguard data disk, you can break this feat completely. You can break this feat completely, because Voluntary Vanguard will still apply, and it will cause your healthiest ally to taunt at the start. If that character is not the leader and is, say, someone like Malak, where they're not going to lose their one-on-one, you'll basically find yourself in a situation where after that tank has had their one-on-one, the enemy will constantly be trying to attack that one person, say Malak for example, dealing no damage, and you could just quite happily go ahead and kill the enemy team. Now, unfortunately, Reaver does take reduced damage from percentage health effects, so Amplify Agony is not going to help you here, so you need a way of controlling and ultimately killing her, either with masses of DPS or by using stuff like heal immunity, control, that sort of thing. Let's break down the team that I used. And here it is, a weird team. I know it's a very odd one. We've got Malgus in the lead. I've got Malak, who's got that voluntary vanguard on. You can see how he has, yes, he's starting off the battle and he's the one that's being attacked because it's his round. But as soon as we finish his round and go on to the next person, you'll see that he still has that voluntary vanguard on him. And the enemy will be attacking him quite a bit. So he's just going to drain 8th Brother here, and it goes on to the next person. We've got Dash Rendar. I threw Dash in because he's got a lot of debuffs, and that should help with my Amplify Agony against these people, because they're quite tanky. But can you see how Malak's Taunt is actually dragging the attacks from 7th Sister, and they can't hurt him? So it gives me free reign to just go in and do whatever I want. Now, I don't recommend you just go and throw in Dash. I recommend you throw in characters that deal a lot of damage. Just take in something that does a lot of damage so you can chew your way through 7th Sister. Now, I have not got Volatile Accelerator on or equipped at the moment because I thought it would be feeding them too much turn meter. I'm actually using an unstable decelerator data disk for this one to try and reduce their TM. I've thrown in Gas because I was quite comfortable that Gas would ramp up enough damage, lower the Grand Inquisitor's max health as much as possible. So I thought he was quite a good unit. And yes, you can use a GL. You can use a GL if you're doing this, but that won't get you the feat, okay? So Gas is going to be reducing max health and Grand Inquisitor, reducing his armor, all that business, increasing his cooldowns. What you will find is this team, they're just ridiculous. Look how many turns they take. So many turns. So many turns. Thankfully, not many of them have got AoEs available. I use JTR as my additional, my 4th here, and the reason I use JTR is she's just incredibly good in a 1v1 scenario. She's able to put locked heal immunity, she's able to daze, and she generates a lot of foresight for herself. She's a very good character. So I just do that to do a little bit of damage with that Amplify Agony, and then we put the heal immunity down so he can't do any form of healing, even if he wanted to. But look at that, it just takes 2 back-to-back turns. It's gross. There's the counter attack, there's 1 attack, and I thought he was going to take another attack. He nearly did. He nearly did. Once we've done with 5th Brother, we'll just be down to Malgus versus Reaver in this instance. I'm not saying that this is the most effective way of getting this battle done, guys. I really don't think it is. What I am saying, however, is that this is a way of getting more We Have Returned. Why not? Why not try and do that? So it's just down to Malgus, do the big hit over there, it does the We Have Returned, and then you just, I think I put this on auto, because she can full on time you out. Unfortunately, as well, with the auto, Malgus will do that shock, which will actually force him to taunt, which we don't actually want. We don't actually want him to taunt. We want them to constantly be hitting Malak so that our Malgus has a better chance of surviving. So we're just doing a bunch of debuffs here. You'll notice she's got ridiculous amount of health steal. So we're waiting for our big, our big second special. That's the one that does the damage. It puts that doubt on there. We also get the We Have Returned when it expires. So unfortunately, even if you go in with a full team of Sith Empire units, it'll only apply to Malgus in this instance, okay? That's because nobody else can gain any buffs in this dueling scenario, which is a real shame because this would be a great way to farm We Have Returned otherwise. I think I take it off auto eventually to make sure that my Malgus doesn't taunt, but ultimately we get another big hit soon enough. I'm just trying to see the deathmatch modifier there. Get another instance of doubt on them. It cleanses off. We get another We Have Returned. See, I feel like this is a decent way of farming it. The only problem is because it can't spread to the rest of your allies, it ends up being a very slow way of getting it done. You could farm it indefinitely, most likely. You could put it on auto and farm it indefinitely and not kill Third Sister. I took it off auto here because I wanted to make sure he didn't use the shock coming up because I didn't want him to taunt. Just the big hit there. Booyah. We got one last We Have Returned there right at the end. And that gets you both feats for one team. We get a 3-star victory. We get, oh well, I finished off my We Returned here, win with 5 victors. I'd already won without using a Galactic Legend. So this is another team that you can use. And that gets us every single feat in this sector. Easy peasy squeezy lemons, guys. Make sure you hit that like button down below. Tell me what teams you've been using, because I want to gather more information. I want to delve into your mind, see what you guys have been doing. Until the next video, guys. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.